Oh, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, depending on which part of this country that you're in. You're watching Rebel Roundup, our daily news and opinion show. I'm your host, Sheila Gunn Reid, looking a little better than normal because I have to fill in for Ezra Levant today, and I'm joined by someone who doesn't normally join us on Thursdays, our Tuesday and Wednesday co-host, my real-life best friend from Regina, Saskatchewan, who is not in Regina today, Lise Merle. Lise, how's it going?
Hi, Sheila Gunn Reid. Well, I'm delighted to be on a rebel assignment in the beautiful town of Lambton, Saskatchewan this morning. So it's great to find you here, and I can't wait to get on to the show.
Yeah, you're van lifing your way to a story. Now, before we came on air, the locals came bearing gifts for you. Tell us about this.
They did come bearing gifts. I don't know if you can see it in the background, but I got a visit this morning from an oil field company, and they brought me, I kid you not, a bag of wine and some beautiful custom wine glasses. And a lady brought me fresh lilacs that are in full bloom in Lambton, Saskatchewan, and it's just such a great day to be on the road and also be here with you guys. So, for anybody that doesn't know, Lise has a Rebel van. I know that a lot has been said about the Rebel News beautiful big billboard truck, but Rebel News also has a van, and it's pretty cool. So this is it. Welcome to it, and you're going to see a lot more of me in this summer. So
Yes.
get
Yeah.
ready.
Lise has a van. It's got a Rebel News magnet on the side. And at least on the prairies, it's a bat signal for friendly people to come up and talk.
It really is. It's
Yep.
been a wonderful 24 hours, and it's just going to continue on for the rest of the weekend. And can't wait. Can't wait.
Okay, I'll tell everybody what we're doing around here and then we'll get into the news of the day. Can't go long because I am filling in for Ezra. So I have to be out and then get into his show. So if you're watching us on Rumble, that's an excellent free speech platform. If you want to support our work over there, while having your say, because that's what we do around here, you can leave a Rumble rant. That's their paid chat over there. It helps us at Rebel News. And if it's over the $5 US cutoff, we have to read it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our very best, time permitting. If you're watching us on YouTube, the same rules apply. Their paid chat is called the Super Chat. And if you miss the live version of the show, but you are so compelled by our witty banter and Lisa's ability to take the message of fellowship of Rebel News, fighting for freedom out onto the road, you could leave a paid comment called a super thanks. So those are all the rules. That's nuts and bolts. Let's get into the show. So all of the fancy pants people and the Federalists and the elbows up boomers held hands to freak out when Ambassador Pete Hoekstra retweeted his boss, by the way, President Donald Trump, when Donald Trump was poking fun at Canada for being the only G7 country tumbling into a recession. Donald Trump joked, "Oh, 51st state," and then Pete Hoekstra retweeted it. And then everybody freaked out, and that prompted the ambassador to issue a statement or give a statement because nobody can take a joke anymore. Like, Donald Trump is the jokiest president that ever joked. And yet these people take everything he says as though it were gospel. Like this is what he's going to do. So let's listen to Pete Hoekstra.
The president's representative to Canada. I present the president's views, the United States views to Canada. I don't do all the reposting and retweeting myself. My understanding is we repost 100% of the president's tweets that deal with Canada. The president's
Okay, yeah, that's his job. So why is everybody freaking out? He doesn't work for us. Like, have we forgotten that?
Right. But here's a class of people that are so accustomed to just towing the line, to
Right.
supporting the narrative, to whatever, that when somebody goes off brand, it's shocking to them. Here's Pete Hoekstra. I don't do my own tweeting. Like, I'm an ambassador. I'm that's a little, that's, I got a pay grade that's a little bit above that. Other people do this work, and gives a rational explanation. But I mean, that it sets the Canadian classes on fire the way it does. Like, they really are insecure, aren't they?
Well, and again, I reiterate, Pete Hoekstra works for the President of the United States. He's the ambassador from the United States to Canada, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Like he seems to like us just fine. In fact, I think he has a great deal of pity for us. And I would expect an ambassador to have that for us right now, but he doesn't work for us. Like, so for him to bring messages from the president to his X feed should surprise nobody. I don't know why it caused an international incident, except that everybody is uptight and humorless.
Except for that. And I do believe that some of our elite classes got really used to the response whenever the 51st state is mentioned, like the knee-jerk reaction, the over response. They got used to that. They just don't know what else to do now. That's their default.
Right. And we're not yet the 51st state. I doubt we ever will be, but it's President Trump's joke to make fun of us. And every time you lose your marbles over it, that tells him that it's working. And it is, obviously. Right. It is.
Right.
So
and
he's going to do it again.
He actually does it every time we're walking into a trade negotiation, and watches us freak out over that part and not the actual trade negotiation. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yes. We've got Mark Carney being asked about AI and wondering if there's some sort of allegiance or alliance as an alternative to US big tech. This chilling.
Hi, Prime Minister. Hannah Alberta with the Canadian Press. The AI strategy says Canada is uniquely positioned to lead an alliance of aligned democracies who pool research, talent, compute, and procurement power. Do you think such an alliance could offer a credible alternative to US big tech? And is that the goal that you're trying to set out here?
Well, I think the short answer is in a series of areas that critical mass absolutely can be developed. I referenced one, which is we have LLM, large language model capabilities here that very few other countries, only 3 other countries have. That's part of a broader AI ecosystem that we can build alliances around. We've already started to do that with Germany as an example. There is, I can tell you from our 12 AI-related partnerships that we've signed over the last year, there is very strong interest in like-minded countries of sharing infrastructure, various aspects of infrastructure as part of that ecosystem as well. There is a very strong interest in coordinating and this will be part of what is discussed at the G7 in Evian in 2 weeks' time, coordinating and improving child safety approaches. And one would expect that our partnerships would be deeper with those countries that share our priorities on that and get it right. So yes is the short answer. I don't view this necessarily, maybe the last point I'll make, as a winner-take-all or a challenge strategy. There are just such a host of applications for AI that it's going to be tailored to the values, or should be tailored to the values of countries. There are many countries that share enough of those values with Canada that they're natural partners. Thank you.
So his short answer was neither short nor an answer, but but it sounds like he and his group of partner countries, so European censorship countries, are all going to get together and tailor AI to teach us what to think and how to think it. Yeah.
Yes, and while also prioritizing child safeguarding. So this harkens us back to the Tumbler Ridge massacre,
Right.
And how that was involved, and how. But I don't like the sounds of us signing up to an AI oligarchy that doesn't include our closest friends and neighbors in the United States. I don't want bad European ideas catching on here or being imported into our AI systems. It's anti-human, and I don't like it that much.
Right. Why would we ever collaborate on an AI model or AI models with the people who are most culturally compatible with us, our friends in the United States? We're
Right.
going to hitch our horses to the EU wagon just because elbows up boomers. Okay, great. What could possibly go wrong? Danielle Smith was in Quebec yesterday, and she was giving it straight to the Quebecers, including on pipelines, which I thought was wonderful. And she was asked about Stephen Guilbeault, who was her arch nemesis for a very long time. She has outlived him in government, and she calls he survived. She calls him the most destructive politician to national unity that we've ever seen. I don't know. Maybe his boss, Justin Trudeau, was, but I think it's a 1 and a 2, and whoever is the first runner-up, I think depends on the day. But let's watch.
Right.
But I will be frank with you. I think Stephen Guilbeault was the most destructive politician to national unity that we have ever seen. I was proposing an alternative referendum question that Stephen Guilbeault should never be allowed to run for political office again, and I would get 100% support in Alberta.
So funny.
And the fact that he's leaving, saying, I might be back to do more damage if a different prime minister comes in, that is damaging to national unity. The fact that he left because of our MOU shows that he's not interested in the kind of compromise that the prime minister and I were interested in. And the fact that Avi Lewis at the federal level is also talking about zero development of fossil fuels. That is what has driven, that ideology is what has driven the country for the last 10 years. And that is a very destructive ideology to national unity. Imagine if I came here and I said, it's my mission to stop you developing hydroelectric power and stop you from developing aluminum. I'm going to do everything I can to put in new regulations to prevent you, not only from expanding it, but we want you to phase it out by 2035. That is what Stephen Guilbeault did to my province and my people. So if you're wondering why 700,000 people on one side or the other signed a petition saying we need to have this out and have this question, that's why. And if you wonder why myself and the Prime Minister have worked so hard on trying to find some middle ground where we have a gagnant-gagnant, a win-win, it's because it's imperative to national unity, imperative to the country, imperative to our ability to work together, imperative for us to survive with a US trading partner that's become a little bit unreliable. And so I know it's a challenging conversation to recalibrate that way, but if I've been able to find a way to recalibrate with the new Prime Minister, and we found something that we think we can work on together, I think we can do the same thing in Quebec. But I think that we have to be champions for each other. I, as a premier, should never come into Quebec and tell you what you should and shouldn't develop for your industry. And I think no politician should come into Alberta and tell us the same thing. We should be looking at each other's endowments as strengths for the entire country, and then finding ways for each of us to work together to support each other, trade with each other, find new markets together. And I think that's the spirit that we've been in for the last 18 months, and I hope it's a spirit that continues.
Okay, but we haven't built anything in 18 months. I need more than vibes, Danielle. Now, she's absolutely right that that is what we should be doing. But we are not doing it. We are talking a lot about it, but none of it is happening. And I'm glad she said to the Quebecers, right to their faces, how would you feel if we came in here and said, no aluminum, no hydro, no whatever else it is that you do? And not just that I don't want you to do that, but I will do
going to work against you.
Power to work against you to make sure that it never happens. Not just that we put the brakes and slow down your industry, but to get rid of it altogether. And we don't care what happens to you without it. That's what it's like, not what it used to be like. That's what it's still like for Albertans. There's a lot of talk about things under Prime Minister Carney, but she said 18 months. We've done nothing in 18 months. Yep. Zero. No pipeline, no shovel in the ground, no nothing. Lots of approvals for BC. Quebec's getting a lot of approvals. Nothing for us. And we are the ones that are threatening to leave the country because of this treatment, and they haven't sped it up one bit.
Yeah, and I think that we're forgetting that it's not an entirely new government. It's not a new team.
Same dude.
It's a new install. Exactly. They installed a new guy at the top, but in the background, it is all the same people. And you're right. We haven't seen any movement. But really, I think the question I would put to Eastern Canadians is, if we're so full of hillbillies and backwards, maple magas and oil and gas producers, why would you want to keep us? Like, why would you want to keep us if we only produce things that you guys don't like? What is the interest of keeping Alberta and Saskatchewan in Canada? Like, what is it? Tell us, because it sounds like you don't like us a lot, and you don't want us to do well a lot. And so, what is your motivation to keep us together? Some antiquated, sort of sentimental idea of the nation that you maybe once had? That's not good enough for Westerners anymore. It's just not good enough.
Well, and even just the name Maple MAGA. We don't have maple trees out here. That shows how little that they know about us, that they can't even insult us properly. First of all, make Alberta great again, damn straight. But to call us Maple MAGA, we don't have maple trees. That's one of the reasons why we prickle at the maple leaf flag, is because it's a symbol for all, except they picked a symbol that doesn't reflect us either.
Isn't that so true? Isn't that so true?
There are no maple trees west of Manitoba.
And probably in the new country, we're not going to have maple trees on our flag. So,
yes. Olivia whispers in my ear, we'll bump ahead and do the Stephen Guilbeault. I refuse to say his name properly. Guilbeault. I'll say it like an Anglophone from Alberta. Danielle Smith was talking about Guilbeault quitting because of the MOU. That's how much of a crybaby Stephen Guilbeault is. He quit because of an MOU about the potential for a pipeline, which we haven't gotten yet. And even our proposed pipeline routes to the West Coast, everybody's fighting them already. So that's never going to get done. Let's go ahead to Stephen Guilbeault on the MOU, please.
Definitely the Prime Minister and people around him are worried about the Alberta separatist movement. And I think all Federalists should be. I think it's, again, this idea of a grand bargain. But as you know, I mean, that's how TMX was pitched in 2017, 2018. It was this idea of a grand bargain with Alberta. It would help the NDP. We didn't agree with everything with the Alberta NDP, but we could work together on things like climate change and energy. And it was supposed to help with separatism in Alberta. And it didn't. None of these things happened. We ended up with a government that's even more anti-federalist than we did before. It's interesting to see that when you look at the support for separatism in Alberta, contrary to popular belief, it didn't flame up when Justin Trudeau was Prime Minister. It still stayed pretty stable. It has been pretty stable for the last 20 years or so. So Justin Trudeau didn't have much of an impact in favor of Alberta separatism. Buying a pipeline didn't have much of an impact in fighting Alberta separatism. So I don't question I understand, I don't question the motivations behind the MOU, and I question the tactics, the things that we're doing to try and find a solution to these complex issues.
So his lies there prompted not one, but two Alberta fact checks this morning from myself and Corey Morgan.
Go on.
First of all, separatism wasn't steady. It did explode under Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his anti-oil policies. It has always been a kindling, smoldering fire in the background in the West. We all know this, and it's because of the structural inequities of federalism. But it did surge under Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, thanks in no small part to Stephen Guilbeault and the anti-oil policies of the feds. And Corey Morgan drilled down on this. During the Harper era, we talked about this yesterday, Stephen Harper, because he was a Western Prime Minister, understood the things that were alienating Westerners, but he also understood that many of those same things were alienating Quebecers. Under Stephen Harper, you saw wet blanket get thrown on separatism in the East and the West. It was down around 19% under Stephen Harper. 2 years after Justin Trudeau was elected, it was at 25%, and it has steadily ticked up. When Trudeau was elected in 2019, re-elected, 33%. So do you see a trend here? And then right now, I think most recent polling is 36 to 40%. So for Guilbeault to say this has always been this way, no, you guys did this.
Right. He's trying to absolve himself and his buddy of harming national unity, when national unity is a big, they're all fixated on it right now. They all want to look like they're playing their part. He's absolving himself from the damage that he did, just like the Liberals always do, Sheila Gunn, Reid.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's not so much that Stephen Guilbeault even resigned in a snit, like took I'm taking my ball and going home approach. It's that he still has such deep relationships within the Liberal Party of Canada. And of course they would take him back. They take anyone over there.
Right. Absolutely. And then previous Alberta fact checks, by the way, if you wanted to, we put these out every morning. We do, I get up at 5, 4:45 actually. I'm in front of my computer by 5. And we go through the last night's lies and we try to debunk them. We do debunk them with facts and links, as you saw with Corey's there. But Stephen Guilbeault can shut his mouth about being an avowed federalist because we pulled the political donation records of Stephen Guilbeault. And wouldn't you know it, he donated to the Parti Québec while they were trying to break up Canada. While the PQ was saying within 2 years, we're going to hold a referendum. Now, they didn't do it because they couldn't organize I was going to say something crass there, but they couldn't get themselves organized. And he was donating to the PQ. So he was donating to a separatist party in Quebec. Now he's the face of federalism. Alberta, you're overreacting?
Interesting. Well, duplicitous. Yes, this is par for the course. Yep.
Yes. We got another one here from the same podcast. I forget that guy's name. David Hurl or David Hurley. I have not taken the time to learn how to say his name because why? Don't care. But this is the I'll let you guys hear it. But he says there's no independent Alberta, and then he goes on to cite North Dakota. So I thought, oh, really? We should ask North Dakota? So I did. And I wrote up a fact check on this this morning also. So let's watch that clip, and then we'll go drill down into the facts. Because if they're threatening me with North Dakota, you're threatening me with one good time. So just watch.
And for me, it was always about the idea of showing these people, whether they're in Quebec, whether they're in Alberta, where else they can be in the country, that, this is definitely one of the best countries in the world. And this idea that you can be in Alberta, you can separate, and somehow you're going to have an easier time building a pipeline to Tidewater when you don't have direct access to Tidewater as a nation, as opposed to being part of a nation, as a foreign nation, is difficult for me to comprehend. But you hear that. You hear it.
It's crazy. There's no independent Alberta, right? This little landlocked area sitting there in the middle of the continent. They're either part of Canada or they're part of the United States, and they need to get their heads around that. That's the reality. And if they think North Dakota, if they think they're neglected now, they should ask North Dakota. But that's a different matter.
And for me,
just a little landlocked country, just nothing to it, just a little landlocked country.
Yeah, we would just be this little landlocked place, and if we don't like
nothing going for it.
Nothing going for us, and if we don't like it, we should just see how rough it's going in North Dakota. Okay, first of all, we could build pipelines because we wouldn't have all the federal pipeline laws hindering us, right? Like
straight
those
south
would be gone. We just
Saskatchewan, straight south. Yep.
A Bridger pipeline just happened. Why? Because we couldn't build one in Canada, so we went south. We built Keystone Light. But Alberta fact check on this. I thought when he said, "Oh, I guess Lise has a truck going by." So when he said they should ask North Dakota, I thought, okay, I will. Let's. So no, North Dakota doesn't refute Alberta's case for independence. It actually strengthens it when you look at the facts. So Olivia, sorry, I should have dropped this in the chat for you. This is from my fact check this morning. This is what I do before the rest of the world comes to life. I said Liberal commentator David Hurley, don't care, says Albertans should ask North Dakota what happens to a landlocked oil-producing jurisdictions. Many Albertans, including myself, have. So North Dakota produces roughly $141,679 in economic output per person, compared to approximately $71,708 in Alberta. Double. Ooh. Their economic output per capita, because that's the only way to measure this, is per person, is double ours. Personal economic income is also substantially higher at roughly $91,000 per person, compared to Alberta's roughly $61,000. That's remarkable when you consider North Dakota has a fraction of our oil reserves and population. So the comparison actually, thank you so much, David Hurley, don't care. It's actually why we're frustrated, because we look south and we see a resource producing jurisdiction that's been allowed to develop its energy industry with fewer political obstacles. We look at home and see years of federal carbon taxes, emission caps, tanker bans, C-69, and other policies aimed at restricting the very industry that pays the bills. The argument isn't that Alberta would become North Dakota. The argument is that Alberta should be outperforming North Dakota.
That's right. That's exactly right. And just to put a fine point on it, when you compare apples to apples, as you did here in this case, Sheila Gunn Reid, it becomes obvious that not only would Alberta do way better,
double,
without Ottawa's control, but we have options here to chart our own course, like to make our own fortunes, to chase our own prosperity, to make sure that we have something to give our kids, and that is something that Easterners and Stephen Guilbeault in particular just cannot wrap their heads around.
And to just put a finer point on this, like a quill, let's put a quill point on this.
Right.
North Dakota is not, I guess, unique in its oil industry, i.e. it shares the Bakken with southern Saskatchewan.
Yes.
So Saskatchewan could be reaping many of the rewards that North Dakota is. It's just not. They have the same oil field.
We were just talking about it this morning with somebody in Lampman, Saskatchewan. They said when the boom was going on in Lampman, Saskatchewan and in Southeast Saskatchewan, there were so many people here working. Okay, everybody was hustling. The whole place was just humming. And they wished for those days to come back to the area. Everybody was just doing so well. Yeah.
Yep. And we could again, but the East keeps electing Liberals.
Well, and not only do they have piss poor energy policy, but it's the entire mechanism that's broken. Everything in government is broken. And yet they tell us that they're the only ones that are going to be able to fix it. Well, I think we should step away from our dependence on government and see how we can do for ourselves.
Right. Anyways, I do hope they bring up the North Dakota comparison again, because I learned a lot about my friends in North Dakota.
North Dakota's rad.
I know.
I'm literally 40 kilometers from the border right now. I might just pop over for lunch. We'll see.
Right. An affordable lunch.
And a wonderfully homemade affordable lunch in America. Yes.
Yes. An affordable lunch where I think unemployment is like 2.5%. Yes.
They're great people down there. We love
Could be us, but those boomers in Toronto have their elbows up. Okay, let's hit an ad break. We'll come back on the other side with, what should we start with? David Cochraning.
Yeah.
So hard.
For generations, many Canadians have preserved more than just firearms. They've preserved history, tradition, competition, memories. But under Trudeau, and now Carney, heirlooms, estates, collectibles, and competition firearms now have to be surrendered and destroyed. While violent gun criminals get pass after pass, openly ignoring any legislation, Lawful gun owners are trapped in an increasingly unfair legal system. But we can help. Canada's National Firearms Association's Save Firearms program offers the legal pathway to preserve what matters, while we work towards a political solution. Don't let yours be next. Save history. Save heritage. Save firearms. Visit nfa.ca today to learn more.
Canada's been told to just quit smoking for decades, same message over and over, and yet millions of Canadians still smoke. So let's ask a follow-up question. For those who don't quit, what about change? In 2026, Canada has options that didn't exist years ago. Smoke-free alternatives for adults who would otherwise continue smoking. That doesn't mean risk-free, it means informed choice. If you don't smoke, don't start. If you smoke, quit. But for those who don't quit, change could still be part of the conversation. That's why Canadians should check out unsmoke.ca, an information resource focused on smoke-free alternatives and honest facts, not judgment. Put the lighter down, Canada. Learn what your options are.
In Canada, firearms owners like me understand the importance of safe, effective self-defense options. That's why we're proud to have Byrna as a sponsor. Byrna's less lethal launchers are designed to help protect you and your family without taking a life. Byrna offers peace of mind, accessibility, and a practical layer of personal security for Canadians who value safety. Learn more at byrna.ca/rebel. That's BYRNA.ca/rebel. Alrighty, we've got a message from our friends at Rumble Wallet. We hear a lot about crypto, but there's one part most people miss. I miss actually a lot about crypto. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you're in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you've felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today, and everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all that complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stablecoins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. And once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet. Tap buy and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. I would love to go from hearing about crypto to understanding crypto to owning some. I actually own some. I just don't know. I'm scared of it. Frightened of it.
Right. I don't quite know what to do with it.
My son continues to try to explain it to me, and I think I'll just learn Mandarin instead. Like,
less foreign than crypto. Even.
Right. The characters, like it is a completely different language, and I understand why crypto exists. I don't understand how it exists,
right,
or where it exists. That's I can go down to the gold mine and just like gaze upon the Oompa Loompas down there, but I can't do that with crypto, and I can't understand. I'm a boomer about it. I know.
A little bit. We're boomering early. It's fine. We're early boomers that way. Yeah, it's fine.
Let's go to David Cochrane. The description of this video says, David Cochrane seen here going full liberal protection mode. What he did here at the beginning of the clip was not meant for Adam Chambers. It was to manipulate the sentiments of CBC's viewers. He's literally trying to convince Canadians on live TV that we aren't in a recession, which is mental, because we know we are.
Only group calling it a full-blown recession. Like, who else in the country is calling it a full? It's not CD Howe, it's not the bankers, it's not the business groups, it's not the business community. Part of being a credible steward of the economy as a government in waiting is to properly analyze, assess, and define what is happening in the economy. You're the outlier here.
Well, 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP is the definition of a recession.
Technical recession.
And it's
full-blown recession is the language you're using.
And it's 3 quarters out of the last 4. I recall the technical recession, if you want to call that, in 2015, when the last year of Prime Minister Harper's government, I'm not sure we spent as much time about the technicality of that recession then. So I think it's completely fair and honest to point out that the data indicators are suggesting significant weakness in the economy. If we want to disagree about whether it's a technical recession or a real recession, fine, but the economy is not as strong as what Canadians would like it to be.
Absolutely. No argument there. But
Okay, so his argument isn't that we're in a recession, even though the economy receded for 2 consecutive quarters. Is that it?
Right. Yeah. Oh, well, we could split hairs over who said what, and it's only your guys that are saying it. But David Cochrane is completely isolated from the bad decisions of the government of Canada. And that's just the long and short of it. This is a guy that wouldn't suffer under a recession because his job is so protected, you see? And so if you ask the majority of Canadians, hey, how's your bank account doing? Like, say, compared to a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they're going to say that they noticed a difference, that they can't buy as much with their dollar as they used to be able to. There's a reason why everybody's stressing over heating their homes and fueling their vehicles. And it's because of this. And yet David Cochrane, in his chauffeured limousines, doesn't feel the effects. Well, no kidding. Well, no kidding. Yeah. Who's surprised?
And his long preamble there is to set it up, as Ryan Garrettson, who posted this on X, said, it's to make the viewer already disagree with what Adam Chambers, the guest there, is about to say about the reality of the economy. So goes back to, I guess, Brody Fenlon yesterday saying, oh, if you see it on CBC, just believe it. We did all the work. You just park your critical thinking and trust the shine on David Cochrane's head.
That's just it. That's just it. But props to the guest for feeding it right back to him in slow doses so he could understand it better. 2 out of the last quarters have receded, and 3 out of the last 4. What more do you want? What more proof do you need? And David Cochrane needs more. Some of these people need to get hit in the wallet, and David Cochrane is one of them, to be able to understand better what's happening here.
Yes. Okay. Let's go to the video is described as, here we go again. Canada's a horrible place for Muslims and everyone else, so we obviously need a new policy handbook. Let's watch.
And the Youth Coalition Combating Islamophobia to Parliament today.
NDP.
For the official launch of a new policy handbook on Islamophobia. A resource like this is much needed. Much like the horrific rise in anti-Semitism across Canada and other forms of hate, terrible acts of Islamophobia are causing profound harm to people across this country. In the past year, mosques have been vandalized in cities across this country, including of my own city of Edmonton. Muslim Canadians report ongoing discrimination, intimidation, exclusion, and the need for heightened security. Canada continues to record the highest number of targeted killings of Muslims among G7 nations. And earlier this week, the Prime Minister announced the membership of his new Ministerial Advisory Council on Rights, Equality and Inclusion. New Democrats agree that Canada must do much more to combat all forms of hate. And we have supported many of the government's policy changes over recent years, including increased protections for places of worship. We hope that the new Advisory Council will take seriously all forms of hate in Canada, including Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, anti-Palestinian racism, anti-Indigenous racism, anti-Black racism, and anti-Sikh racism, amongst others. And we strongly believe that the Advisory Council should approach the issues of rights, equality, and inclusion through the lens of anti-oppression and racial justice. And in addition to this Advisory Council, Canadians need resources to help use and to help end racial injustice. It is through the work of groups like CMPAC, Justice for All, the Canadian Muslim Healthcare Network, and the Youth Coalition Combating Islamophobia that we can all learn how to fight racism and discrimination in our communities and make Canada a safer place for all Canadians.
Not once did she mention over 100 churches burned or
Exactly.
vandalized. She didn't
Exactly.
mention Christians in her list of oppressed groups. 100 plus of our places of worship were either vandalized or burned to the ground. And she didn't even mention us.
Not even worth.
Not
Nope.
even a word.
No, not worth it to her. Not worth it to her, because of course this is how the NDP operates. Of course it is. And but I so strongly disagree with the idea that we must keep talking about racism as the most pressing topic in the nation as it pertains to just the worst, like the worst, the way that this has impacted our society. It wasn't too terribly long ago that Canadians writ large didn't have any of these problems until the government started thrusting them down our throats. And so now our tax dollars get to go to develop new things to call us racists some more. Who's excited about that? More guilt.
For those of you who don't know, that's Heather McPherson. She's an NDP MP from the socialist hellscape of Edmonton. And I say that politically. Fine people live there. And she once stood up in the House of Commons wearing a keffiyeh post October 7th, just so you know where this is coming from.
Right. The worst one. The worst one.
Yeah. And then just for reality's sake, I just want to show a snippet of an interview with Ezra and the aforementioned ambassador from the United States to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, talking about the potential for Jewish refugees from Canada fleeing anti-Semitism here to be taken in by the United States, much like white farmers from South Africa, because it appears as though now just about every other day there's like a hate crime arrest perpetrated against the Jewish community in Toronto. You could probably arrest these people one a day and you still wouldn't make a dent in the problem. But Ezra raised the issue with the ambassador. This is reality, Heather, not what you're talking about.
I saw the announcement by the U.S. government that in terms of foreign asylum seekers, it will pretty much be restricted to the Boers of South Africa, the white Dutch farmers who have been targeted with racially motivated hate laws, really. Mm-hmm. And I know that the first flights of the Boer farmers have landed in America. I know that there's a lot of Jews in Toronto who feel like it's untenable to continue to live there. Obviously, it's not the same as what's happening to the Boers. But if this anti-Semitic crime wave in Canada continues, do you think the U.S. government would be open to having a category for Canadian Jews who are, like the Boers, they're employable, they're not going to be a burden on the state? Would the U.S. consider giving asylum to Canadian Jews who are afraid of the anti-Semitic crime wave?
I don't think in the current environment. I think to reach that level, and to equate the Jewish population in Canada to what the Boers are facing in South Africa, that's a pretty tough, place to equate the two, okay?
I hope it doesn't accelerate in Canada.
Yeah, so do we. We hope that, the commitments from the government to protect the Jewish population and make sure that they feel safe and secure. And the most important thing to that, because I've met with a lot of folks in the Jewish community, and they don't worry about themselves. They worry about, and they want Canada to continue to be the place where their kids and grandkids can live. Okay. Yeah. And I can't see, I don't envision Canada getting to that point where, I'm not Jewish. I don't live in that environment. I don't live in those. I'm not living in the community. I live in this government housing. Okay, so I'm really not the best person to talk about that. But at this point, I don't think that's anything that's even close to being on the radar screen in Washington.
Okay.
I think it might be now. That interview
Well,
is from 6 months ago.
Yeah, and we have to remember that post-apartheid in South Africa, it didn't start with white farmers being butchered. It didn't start with that.
No.
It started with the relentless promotion of the Black race as somebody who needed to have reconciliation, of people that needed to be, the whole of society needed to be reconfigured to accommodate this
Yeah.
emerging group. It didn't start with the violence. It didn't start with the murder. It always starts with them saying they're going to help. That's how it always starts. And so it's interesting. It's interesting.
It
for
always
sure.
starts with chasing equity, as they say.
Mhm.
As you know, we are boycotting Tim Hortons, boycotttims.com or timsboycott.com, pardon me. They are I think, the most shameless abuser of the temporary foreign worker program in this country. Maybe it has to do with the scale at which they use temporary foreign workers. Maybe it's because they lied about stopping using temporary foreign workers in favor of 10,000 local Canadian kids, while
Right.
also
They're
having
backpedaling.
yeah,
Sure.
90 plus postings for temporary foreign workers on the government website. Or maybe it's because they've cloaked themselves in Canadiana and nostalgia while being anything but. But we sent Tamara Ugolini to a Tim Hortons today. You see, we found a Tim Hortons that was moderately local to her, who had posted on the temporary foreign worker website their labor market assessment. And so we know that they are using temporary foreign workers. And so off Tamara went on a little mission to see what was what. So let's get an update from her on the road.
Well, it's never a dull day at a Tim Hortons location in Canada. We are at super rural Havelock, Ontario, and the police, the OPP, have been deployed onto us for the dangerous criminal activity of asking questions on a sidewalk. Just straight shoe leather, sidewalk journalism, asking people whether or not they think Tim Hortons should prioritize temporary foreign worker hiring or hiring Canadians first. And you can find our full report coming and other reports on this file at timsboycott.com. They're so threatened by this activity that they have to call the OPP on us.
Unreal.
Absurd.
I swear to God, the last thing I said to Tamara in our morning staff meeting was, okay, don't get arrested, ha ha ha.
And well, she didn't get arrested, but they're definitely observing the Rebel News crews outside of Tim Hortons right now. But look at her, like, all the credit to Tamara Ugolini for still showing up and asking the questions. I can't wait to see the report and can't wait to see what Canadians have to say.
She's like 5 feet tall. She's not a threatening woman. Tamara is like painfully calm. Like she never gets worked up. Even there, the cops are there, and she's just rolling her eyes at the absolute absurdity of it all. She never gets heated. She never gets feisty with the police, but she's on the sidewalk. She's not in the Tims. She's not bothering the workers. She's not talking to their clientele. She's on the public sidewalk.
Yes, yes. And still they find this necessary to call the police. Like, what a gross. This is another pertinent example of how Tim Hortons absolutely squanders Canadian taxpayer dollars for their own benefit. Look at, there they are, like, supervising her. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
Yeah, as if the cops out there don't have better things to do.
Well, bro, you think they want to be reinforcing the cops and donuts stereotype? You think they want to be doing that? Look, here they are being called by Tim Bloody Hortons. Just unreal. Anyway, all of this to say, I can't wait to see Tamara Ugolini's story. And that's the reason I'm here today, Canada, is because Tamara Ugolini was on a little caper.
Yes, that's the caper. That's why we have Lise today, is because Tamara was going out to the Tim Hortons and me, ha ha ha, don't get arrested, because I'm like, she's not David Menzies. Nobody's going to arrest her. She's cute as a button. And then I remembered how we got her is because she got arrested on a beach. And then one of her first stories was she was at the mall during COVID and someone called the cops on her and escorted her out. She almost got arrested or at least detained for trespassing. And it was just like Tamara being super calm, 7 months pregnant, rolling her eyes the whole way.
Oh, she's an absolute delight and a treasure. And she's a real producer for Rebel News.
Yeah.
Just lovely.
Tim Hortons trying to censor independent journalists on the public sidewalk. Great look.
Let's see how that goes for you guys. Yeah, let's see how that goes for you guys.
Let's see how much time we have. Okay, let's go into... Did I put something in here that I wanted to talk about? No. Let's go into what was just announced this morning. And I got to give full credit where it's due for the Conservatives for being brave enough to broach this topic now. Dean Allison announces a bit of a Truth and Reconciliation hearing, an inquiry, if you will, into adverse reactions to COVID-19 vaccines. And this, I know, is personal for you, Lise.
Yeah.
Because you did have an adverse reaction.
I did so have an adverse reaction. I had a humongous blood clot lodge in my right bicep just a couple days after my first booster, which is about the same moment that I realized it wasn't safe and it wasn't effective. Not only did it not keep the virus out of our house, but it made things arguably worse for a couple years after. So yeah, this needs to be looked at. P.S. The entire medical community insisted that I must have been doing an extreme sport that day and accidentally.
Have they met you?
Me. They were like,
me, maybe, you know.
Not happening. No, they were like, we this is an injury that we see with sports most of the time. Are you sure you weren't doing any extreme sports? I said absolutely not. But they still didn't acknowledge that maybe the vaccine could have had something to do with it, which was wild. So not only is this a long time in the coming, and sorry, there's a lawn tractor behind me. Not only is this a long time overdue, but good for the Conservatives for starting to look into it, because there were so many Canadians that were negatively impacted by this, and we need to get to the bottom of what happened.
And in all sorts of different ways. It wasn't just the ones that we know about, like the blood clots, the myocarditis, the pericarditis, the spontaneous abortions, the strokes, the death. But, people who all of a sudden, out of nowhere, post vaccination, be it the first vaccine or the booster, all of a sudden developed autoimmune problems, all over
turbo
the place.
cancers, the list just goes on and on and on. It really seems as though it was a trigger for a bunch of other things, and we do need to get to the bottom of this. As per usual, a lie can make it halfway around the world before the truth gets his pants on, and here's the pants. So well done, Conservative Party of Canada. And what was that guy's name, Sheila Gunn Reid?
Dean Allison. We've actually got a clip of him, so let's watch. This takes bravery, because everybody just wants us to move on. We did our civic duty. Now shut up and live with your lifelong complication. And he's not allowing it to be that way. And I'm really happy to see it. So let's watch.
Good public policy depends upon public trust. Trust is strengthened when governments and institutions are willing to ask difficult questions from the evidence, wherever it leads, and acknowledge when people have been harmed. My position is simple. Compassion for those who suffered from COVID-19 and compassion for those who were injured following the vaccination, and a commitment to transparency, accountability, and giving people a chance to share their stories and to be heard. Canadians should never be afraid to tell their stories, and government should never be afraid to listen. Today, I want to highlight 2 reasons why these stories matter and why Canada needs a more thorough examination of its pandemic response. First, we can't ignore the experience of Canadians who were injured following the vaccination. The government recognizes this. Even the Liberals recognize this. And federal reporting through the public health has said that there's been over 58,000 adverse events reported in Canada, including more than 11,000 classified as serious. The Federal Vaccine Injury Support Program had received more than 3,500 claims. More than 3,000 of those claims were deemed admissible for review, and so the government acknowledged that people have been injured, and yet only over 250 people have been compensated. Those numbers alone tell the story on just how slow and unfair the process has been. Many individuals tell us they have struggled to be heard, struggled to navigate the system, and struggled to obtain answers. There are legitimate questions about whether the support program is delivering the assistance efficiently. According to the report by the Globe and Mail last year, more than $54 million was provided to Hoekstra, the company administering the Vaccine Injury Support Program, with more than $36 million being spent on administration. That's two-thirds spent on administration, while only a fraction of the claims have resulted in compensation. Whether one supports or opposes government pandemic policies, I believe Canadians agree on one principle. If people have been harmed, they deserve compensation, support, transparency, and a timely assistance.
And now,
so millions.
I just want to say, he says 58,000 adverse effects. Those are the ones that were either reported or deemed adverse effects. There are a lot of people who reported adverse effects immediately upon and told, no, you must have been paragliding. Like,
I wasn't
or whatever.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. And
it's probably triple that, quadruple.
Well, their inability to be accountable for all of these medical maladies that started popping up after people got the vaccination really does a disservice to the medical community and their and the way people think about them. The way people think about them. The one person that popped into my mind is Kayla Pollock, who was actually paralyzed by this shot, who was living every single day trying to cover her bills, trying to pay for her service dog, the vet bills, trying to see her child again. She's paralyzed. And they gave tens of millions of dollars to their consultant to administer this program.
Like 70% of the program went to consultants.
Like, make it make sense, Canada. Make it make sense. We're taking care of the insiders, the Liberal Party insiders, and no Canadians is what's happening.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, Dean Allison, thanks so much for that. Necessary, and thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for being brave enough. People don't trust the system anymore because of what happened. And if you ever want to repair that, you need to go through the process of digging deep into exactly what happened and
revealing the truth
to account.
That's right. That's right. Because that's the one thing that we do know in Canada is that when mistakes are made and people aren't held accountable, they are going to make them again.
Yeah.
So let's avoid that next time, kids.
Okay, I've got a couple of chats here. One, I believe Lise needs to hear. This is from Erica Ritz, $5. 3 days of Sheila and Lise, my favorite co-hosts.
Oh, thanks, honey. Thank you. Do need that today. Yeah,
you did need that today, and I appreciate Lise so much for just jumping at the opportunity to the live stream on a Thursday from her van in Lampman, Saskatchewan. BD 54 1399. Danielle, read the room. We are done with the feds, and you should be too. I think she's got too much confidence in the feds.
I think so too. Yeah. She's being dazzled by the new boyfriend. You know what I mean? When he's the brother of the old boyfriend.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of the premiers are doing the same thing. But they are premiers in Canada, and they have to walk a real fine line with what they do. So it would be, if the federal government really wanted to be vindictive, they could. And I think that she's doing a good job at juggling all of the balls right now.
Right. And I think a lot of the premiers they want to say, we tried with the new guy.
Yep.
It didn't work. But you have to try first. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they couldn't walk into a relationship with a new prime minister and give him the finger. That would accomplish nothing.
Right.
But as more time goes on, the people of especially Western Canada are saying, okay, well, enough time has elapsed now that we should be seeing some results. And we're not, because it's the old guys. And so, it'll all come out in the wash.
Now, I have to jet because I'm covering for Ezra and I have to film the guest portion for the Ezra Levant show right away. But in honor of Lise being in rural Saskatchewan, I had to show you this clip of Carney's Minister of Agriculture, Heath MacDonald, talking about just how important agriculture is, and it's gold.
If that's what it takes to get a reaction over there about how important farming is in this country, farming. If that's what it takes to get a reaction over there about how important farming is in this country, farming. If that's what it takes to get a reaction.
That's the agriculture minister, you guys. Standing up for farmers.
Farmering. Yes.
I've been farmering so hard lately.
Yes, I come from many generations of farmers.
Fifth generation farmer right here.
That's our guy.
Farmer.
Does everybody
Sounds like he left the key on the tractor.
Got his diesel.
Diesel. You didn't plug it in, buddy.
Does anybody feel more confident after hearing that? Like, does anybody have more confidence in our trade agreements, in our major industries in Canada after hearing that? My goodness, farmering.
Like that's the guy who's out there looking out for us farmers.
It's fine. He was having another bad day, and it's fine. You know, the crazy thing about farmers is they just get the job done. They just get the job done no matter what the crazy politicians stutter in Parliament. And so there we have it. We're still in good shape, boys. It's fine. Keep going.
Yes. All right. That's the show for today. Thank you, Lise, for hopping on and covering off Tamara so she could go on her little caper.
Oh, well, it was my pleasure, Canada, and Sheila, Gunn, Reid, and Rebel Team, and I will see you next Tuesday.
Yes. Yes, you sure will.
Yes, I will. Tuesday's my day. I'm your Tuesday girl. And it's been a slice.
Yes. Livia and Efron too. Thanks for putting the show together, and everyone who works behind the scenes to put the show together. So it's there for you whenever you want to see it. We couldn't do it without you. Thanks to those of you who pitched in a little bit here to keep the lights on, and for those who do the very free thing, but also eminently helpful thing of just interacting with our content so it turns up higher in the algorithm. It's very helpful. It'll get us to 2 million subscribers. I'm not sure if I'm back tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. But if I'm not here tomorrow, I'll see you guys on Monday. If I'm here tomorrow, I'll see you in about 23 hours from now. And as we frequently say on the show here, if you find us offensive, maybe don't find us at all.
We've been tilling the soil, working with the municipalities, working with the federal government to make sure we have an economy that can sustain the hits that we're taking from President Trump. President Trump's back on his high horse, saying we're going to be a 51st state. I can tell President Trump that will never, ever happen. We will always be a proud, sovereign country, and I'm going to fight every single day to make sure that happens.